Ukrainian tanks enter Rodynske as Russia tries to cut off Pokrovsk supply line. Ukrainian armored units have entered combat with Russian troops in the city of Rodynske, Donetsk region, as Moscow's forces continue attempts to seize the area, critical for logistics along the Pokrovsk axis, according to video footage published by journalist Yulia Kirienko. The video shows a Ukrainian tank operating under dense fog to reduce the visibility of Russian FPV drones. According to the report, the tank was deployed to clear Russian positions in the southeastern sector of Rodynske, where enemy units had managed to break through. Ukrainian defense forces said maintaining control over Rodynske remains vital for supporting military operations around the nearby city of Myrnohrad. In Myrnohrad, Ukrainian units confidently hold their positions and eliminate enemy forces on the city's outskirts, the statement noted. According to the Ukrainian military grouping East, logistics to Myrnohrad have been complicated but continue to function. Information about the enemy's complete fire control over supply routes or about the operational encirclement of the city is not accurate, the command stated. The General Staff reported that necessary weapons and ammunition were recently delivered to defending units, and rotation of personnel and evacuation of the wounded were completed. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are conducting counteroffensive actions in Pokrovsk and on its western outskirts to prevent further Russian advances on the southern flank. Analysts note that Russian troops likely retain partial fire control over ground communication lines, creating ongoing logistical challenges for Ukraine's defense. Earlier, the Ukrainian Crimean Tatar Partisan Network, ATESH, reported that Russian forces on the Pokrovsk front had disbanded their evacuation units to reinforce assault groups, leaving many wounded soldiers without medical aid or transport. At the same time, thick fog has enabled Russian troops to move further into the key strategic city of Pokrovsk in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine's 7th Airborne Assault Corps says weather conditions, particularly dense fog, have prompted Moscow to intensify its bid to get increasing numbers into the ruined city and encircle Ukrainian forces. Russian forces have spent more than a year trying to seize the city. Ukraine's military says there may now be 300 to 500 Russians there, and President Volodymyr Zelensky says the situation remains difficult. Meanwhile, Army Chief Oleksandr Syrsky says the situation on the front line in the southeastern Zaporizhia region has significantly worsened, with the loss of 3 settlements. Syrsky said, however, that Russia was most active around Pokrovsk. A video has gone viral on social media showing Russian soldiers openly driving through a hazy road on civilian cars and motorbikes. The BBC has verified the location where the video was filmed as the southern outskirts of the town on the Seladov-Pokrovsk highway. For several days, fog obscured visibility to carry out aerial reconnaissance, says a drone pilot from the Shershny Dobusha unit of the 68th Brigade with the call sign Goose. That's why, he told the BBC, the Russians had even dared to launch assaults using a column of vehicles, which would normally have been wiped out immediately by Ukrainian drones. The Ukrainian drone pilot told the BBC his unit had regularly detected and eliminated small Russian groups trying to advance on foot and on motorbikes. He added they were also involved in repelling the attack featured in the viral video, said to have been filmed on Sunday. The convoy was partly destroyed, Goose claims, however, weather conditions meant there was no video monitoring of the moment they repelled the attack, so he was not sure if the entire group was hit. A week ago, Zelensky estimated that up to 300 Russian soldiers were fighting in Pokrovsk. The video suggests those numbers have probably increased in that time, and the military confirmed that on Wednesday, with southern areas of the city now under Russian occupation. Russian troops appear to be closing in on most areas of Pokrovsk, according to mapping by the Ukraine-based Deep State Monitoring Group. Some observers say that its fall is imminent. Most parts of the city are now in a gray zone that neither side fully controls, says Goose. We might hold positions in one building, but the enemy can be in the next one. They're trying to get behind our backs, he says. Russian forces are trying to cut off logistical routes supporting Ukrainian troops in Pokrovsk. They attack supply routes, not only remotely using drones and artillery, but also by sending in soldiers on the ground, the Ukrainian drone pilot told the BBC. This tactic is called infiltration, and it has proved quite successful, says Ukrainian military analyst Konstantin Mashevets. He argues that Russian forces have specifically targeted Ukrainian FPV pilots, so they do not have sufficient resources to detect the movement of smaller Russian groups. In an urban environment, Russian soldiers sometimes infiltrate by dressing up as locals or as Ukrainian military, says Mashevets. Their main goal is to cause chaos among Ukrainian defenders, which is then followed by a push from the main forces of the Russian army, he adds. The Kremlin is also trying to push in other parts of the front line, in Kupiansk in the northeast and in Zaporizhzhia region in the south. Viktor Tregubov, spokesperson of the Joint Forces operation, denied Moscow's claim that they had managed to surround Kupiansk, but admitted that Russian troops were present in the south of the town, and the situation was difficult.